Well, hello everyone. Welcome to WeaverCast. WeaverCast is a weekly podcast with tips and tricks for Rapid Weaver and web design. I'm Joe Workman, your host. I'm an independent Mac and web developer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Today we have show number 19, and it is Tuesday, February 11th, 2014. Now, WeaverCast is never longer than 15 minutes, so let's get started. So yesterday, I released podcast number 18, and we went over some great stuff with Stacks 2.5 update. That was part one of the series. This is going to be part two. So if you haven't watched part one, I recommend you go back, watch podcast number 18, and take a look at part one, because we're not going to review any of it. So today I'm going to go over two things, right? We are going to go over, review a couple things from the developer side, what has improved for Stacks, and then we're going to jump into something super cool. It's called User Stacks. You're going to love it, okay? So, but before we jump over there, from a user perspective, what does some of the improvements for Stack developers, how is it going to help you? Okay, I'm not going to dive into the APIs and all that jazz, right? But from a user perspective, what does the stuff that Stacks 2.5 brings to me as a Stack developer help you, the user? Okay, so essentially, what some of the great APIs that we have now in Stack 2.5 is the ability to make your websites slimmer and faster. Okay, by that I mean, let's say for example, you have a bunch of different light boxes on the page. Let's take my expose stack, for example. Okay. Now, my expose stack has a bunch of JavaScript tied to it and a bunch of CSS as well, right? And every time you drag that stack onto the page, we have all those components added to the page, right? So you have obviously some HTML, then you have some JavaScript added, and then you have some CSS added to the CSS file. Well, in Stacks 2.5, we have some great optimizations. Now, pre 2.5, basically, every time I added the stack to the page, the same JavaScript, the same CSS, the same HTML would be added to the page, minus whatever customizations and tweaks you had for that particular stack, right? But now in Stacks 2.5, we got something really cool. And basically what that allows us to do is centralize code. So if you add, say, 10 different Lightbox expose stacks to your page, I can only load the JavaScript once. So instead of that same JavaScript being loaded 10 different times, okay, it will actually only be included on the page once inside your JavaScript file. And same thing for CSS. I could define page-wide CSS, page-wide HTML, and so on and so forth, right? And all these things can, be help to actually reduce the size of your files that are being published to your website. Hence, because these files are smaller, we have faster websites. Score! Okay. Now, there's a bunch of other small little things, but that one key difference is going to be huge for people. You will see smaller JavaScript files, smaller CSS files, smaller HTML files, hopefully as well. So now all these don't happen out of the box, right? So Stack developers, we're going to have to update our stacks to be able to, take advantage of all of these great new functionality. I've already updated a few of my stacks, and over the coming months, I'm probably going to revamp most of my stuff, right? So over the coming weeks and months, we'll see that, a whole bunch of Stacks 2.5 updates are going to be coming from me, and hopefully other Stack developers as well are going to be taking advantage of all this great stuff so that you guys can have slimmer and faster websites. I'm really excited about this. I've wanted these features for a long time, and we finally nailed it, and I'm excited about it. Can you tell? So without further ado, we only got 15 minutes tops, right? So let's jump over and look at some user stacks. Okay, so here we have a blank Rapid Weaver project, and let's go ahead and do a really simple example of what user stacks can be used for. So I'm going to add an instance of my Share It stack to the page, and let's quickly configure it. Okay, so here I have configured my Share It stack, and we have 5 different social services that we could potentially share our website over, right? And if we preview the page, cool, I get a nice little effect. Now, while Share It's pretty easy to configure, but let's say we wanted to have this same exact Share It configuration on a lot of our web pages that we develop or a lot of the different websites. We want to save this configuration so that later on, I don't need to go in and add the stack to the page, drag in all my social icons, configure the colors and everything that we need for it. Okay. I just want to drag it out and be ready to start and go from where I like the stack to be. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you'll notice at the top right of the stacks toolbar, we have a new button. And it's basically a way to save our stack configuration. So we select the stack that we want, and let's go ahead and click that button. And what you'll notice is a new window comes up that says create a new user stack. So let's go ahead and fill out this information. So here we go, I've set everything up. Essentially, the first field is going to be the title, the name of your stack that we're saving. Then we're going to have a subtitle, which can contain some information for you to let you know kind of what the stack is. And then a full-blown description where you can actually type out a longer description of what the stack actually does. And lastly, we have a group. And this is where you can actually define the stacks group that is going to be added inside the stacks library. Now, what's cool is you can actually type in whatever you want, and that group will be created. You do not need to use an existing group. So I'm going to go ahead and create a group called My Stacks. Now these other two options here, clear images, this is useful if maybe you have added some images into the stack and you don't want those images to be carried over into your user stack. And the last option here is the lock topmost stack. And this goes over the lock feature that we did in part 1 of this podcast series, where basically the top stack in that set will be locked so that you can't modify it any longer. This is useful in some really edge cases, but chances are you're not going to check this very often. So once you're done and you're satisfied with all this data, go ahead and click Save. And you get a nice confirmation box from Stacks saying that it's saved your stack. And now we can look at it inside the Stacks library. So here we have inside the Stacks Elements library, my Share It stack that I saved with the user. Now you notice all user stacks will have the same icon and is contained within the group that I defined inside that window. Now what's important is you do not need to restart RapidWeaver. This stack will be saved inside the Stacks library and ready for you to be used immediately. Let's go ahead and try it out. So here I've added a new page into RapidWeaver, and let's go ahead and add this stack to the page. And if we notice, this isn't the default Share It stack. This is the stack that I saved with all of the settings that I had set up, all my various social networks, all my color configurations, every setting that I would like. Now, if I want to add it to the page and then tweak it later, that is all up to you. But as you see, this is a very powerful thing. We can now save our stacks how we like it. A lot of times we spend a lot of time configuring slideshows and banners, and trying to remember all of those various settings is going to be tough. And a lot of times what we do is we take a copy of a stack from one project and paste it into another. But now we can actually save those configurations so that we don't even need to remember what project we used it in. We can just save a copy and use it later on. Now a couple ideas. One, as we see here, is to basically save setups of stacks that you like. So create a stack on the page, tweak the settings to how you might like it for a particular setup, and save it. Another idea is to basically create groups for your projects. And then maybe inside the Stacks library, you save the group as the name of your project. Just a couple, ideas here. Now let's take this to an extreme and show you kind of how I use the user stacks already in my everyday life. Okay, so I'll give you one guess what we're looking at here. What we're looking at is one of my product pages, right? Or kind of a mock-up of my product page, right? So what I do, the trick behind all of my product pages is user stacks. If we look at edit mode here, we'll see that I have quite a complex page set up here, okay? And having to duplicate this multiple times would definitely be a bear. It's not something that I would look forward to, okay? But with user stacks, I can save this entire page setup as a user stack. And then whenever I need to add a new product to my site, all I need to do is add the new my product page user template in there. and I'm good to go. Now, the trick to saving a group of stacks like this is to basically throw everything into a one column stack. Then basically you select your one column stack, and that is the stack that you actually save. Now, I've already saved this one, and let's see it in action. So here I have a new blank page, and essentially all I'm going to do is I'm going to add my user stack onto this page. And magically we'll see my entire page setup is here. Now, I'll show you a trick that I used to actually help myself to figure out what I need to tweak after I added this stack to the page. And the secret to this is my locker stack. This is a free stack that allows you to add notes to edit mode. So inside this area, I've added a locker stack to each location that I needed to modify. So inside this expose stack, I added a note here that says I need to make sure that I change the video ID. So then I go into the Vimeo stack, then I go into the settings and change the ID for the video that is for that particular product. Scroll down the page. I have another locker stack to remind me that I need to add a 512 pixel image. And I need to add the product description, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Essentially, the locker stack allows me to add notes in edit mode, and they will not be previewed once I publish the site live. Now, I promised we weren't going to review too much from the part 1 of the Stacks 2.5 series, but okay, here's just a great use that I use to show and hide stacks on my page. So in this example, I have an expose stack, and normally it would be on the page and it would look like this. But I don't need to edit it at all. So before I saved it as a user stack, I hid it because I don't need to modify that stack at all. I don't need to modify anything on it. That stack is going to be the same for every single product page. So I just hid it. Now, if I ever need to unhide it, as you know, I can easily unhide it with just a click of a button in the Stacks toolbar. But it just makes the page a little bit cleaner to basically have only things that you need to edit visible. Okay, so user stacks are really cool, right? Am I right? Was I right? Okay, I was right. So these things are really easy to configure. As you saw, it just, with a couple mouse clicks, we saved an entire stack setup. Now, because this is so easy to do and it's so powerful, I'd say this is pretty revolutionary for the Rapid Weaver community. We can save, tons of layouts, anything that you want. It's nothing, as me as a developer, I save it for you and say, this is how you should use it. You define how you want the stacks set up. You save them how you want them to be saved, right? So that you can easily use them in the future. This is a huge time saver for everybody. So to wrap up, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this 2-part series. I hope you love Stacks 2.5 as much as I do, because it's really, really great setup. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I am on the various internets at Joe Workman on Twitter and app.net. If you want to email us at support@joeworkman.net. And as always, check out our great products, which make these free podcasts available at joeworkman.net/RapidWeaver. Also, we have some great Mac apps at joeworkman.net/Mac. So make sure you check out some of our great Mac apps as well. I hope you have a great day, everybody. Take care. Thank you. Bye.